Well, hey, everybody. Week one is well underway. We finished some games already, a whole tournament, or a handful of tournaments, actually. We're in the middle of week number 2. So let's just jump in and get started with a few topics. Kind of now that the season's going, these are really going to kind of tend to be more rules heavy. So I've added to that. Please make sure that you have your rule book handy with you. I like to have a highlighter. I like green highlighters. It makes me think of more happy things when I see green. But that's just my personal preference. So with these Zoom meetings here, now that we're going at this point in the season, grab your rule book, get a highlighter. And also, if you ever have a question during one of these presentations, mute yourself or unmute yourself so that way you can ask that question. Please interrupt me. I'm fine with interruptions. We'll answer the question and then we'll move on. Okay. So I will be starting with this thought every single week, is that I really do hope that we all approach umpiring with the aspect of, or with the perspective of, that we are looking for opportunities for improvement. I'm not perfect, and none of you are perfect umpires. I mean, we've had a few perfect umpired games in the professional big leagues, and if they don't even do it consistently, then well, we all for sure, have opportunities for improvement. So, and then we get this from learning from experiences, learning from our experiences, both good and bad experiences. And then when we share our experiences with other people as well. So not just me to you, but you to your partners throughout the games, you to your other friends as well. So again, I really do hope that this is our frame of mind when we attack these rules Zoom meetings. So first topic today I want to talk about is coaches. There's 2 things I want to talk about coaches. There's a question, a hypothetical question. If you want to answer in the chat, that's fine. But here we go. Do coaches in high school, again, according to this rule book, do they have to wear a full uniform? Great question. I know lots of my games that I have coaches in full uniforms, and I know that there are lots of my games that a coach is wearing a windbreaker and wind pants and being really comfortable. So which is it? Well, let's dive into our rule book and find. The part that talks about uniforms is in Rule 1, Section 4, Article 1. It's on page 13. So if you want to turn in your rule book with me as well, it's there right smack dab on the top. Under the word uniforms, Article 1 says uniforms of all team members should be of same color, style, and blah, 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 blah. The designated words that we have here are team members. And I just really do feel, in my interpretation of the words, that do coaches have to wear a full uniform? No, they do not. I cannot find anywhere else in this book that talks about coaches and uniforms and everything. I've looked pretty extensively. The only other spot that does talk about coaches, and we're actually going to get there here just a little bit, is Rule 3, and it's on page 29, but nothing to do with uniforms in that one. So I think the only thing that we can really hang our head on is just this: uniforms of all team members. Now, if you are on the side that you really truly believe a head coach is part of a team membership, and well, then if you interpret the rule that way, great. You can enforce a coach to wear a full uniform. If you want to view it as this side where only the players are the team members, the coaches are the coaches and the players are the team members, and the players have to be in uniform, then well, you have, you're supported that way. Basically, my point is that if you are going to enforce a coach being in full uniform, what are you going to penalize them with? There's really no penalty written in there that says if a coach is not in uniform. And also, I think this kind of just is in the category of don't pick on something that doesn't really impact the game. I think a coach is going to coach the same whether he's wearing baseball pants and a uniform tucked in, looking the part, as well as the same coach that's wearing a windbreaker and wind pants. So I really don't think that this is something that we really need to concern ourselves with. But it is just something that's interesting to think about. Typically, what you'll see in a varsity game, more varsity level coaches do dress the part, do kind of do the norm of being uniform. Most all sub-varsity coaches, they don't. There's a few on both sides that kind of do the opposite of the norm, but basically, here what I'm getting at is I don't think this is a big deal for us, so let's not make a big deal of it. Okay. Next thing, let's talk about coaches. does the head coach have to attend the pregame conference? As I mentioned before, this is in Rule 3. So with your rule book, go ahead and turn over to Rule 3. This is Rule 3, Section 2, Article 4. They're kind of down at the bottom of the page. And I'm bringing this up because we are having tournaments right now. And a lot of times the tournaments, the games go quickly. They try to flip-flop them as sometimes you may only have 10, 15, 20 minutes between games. And that could lead for that could lead us into some situations where we feel like we may be a little handcuffed. So let's talk about what the rule says. So Article 4 says the head coach must attend the pregame conference. I like the rule so far, if available. Okay, never mind. I don't like this rule. So the head coach must attend the pregame conference if available. So in order to find out what if available means, let's go down and let's take a look at the penalty for a second real fast. So the head coach will be restricted to the dugout for the remainder of the game, except to attend a sick or injured player. Okay, that's the definition of a bench restriction. If the coaches refuses to attend the pregame conference. And I'm going to really read into the word refuses to attend the pregame conference. And I'm going to apply a little bit of common sense by answering the question without answering the question. So does the head coach have to attend the pregame conference? Yes, but no. So let's talk about the yes. And in as many situations as possible, I would venture to say 99.9% of the situations, when you have a pregame conference, it needs to be the head coach and the head coach. That's just the way it needs to go. But on occasion, on a rare blue moon situation, you may need to do the pregame conference with an assistant coach and a head coach, just so that way we can get the games going. So let me talk about two different scenarios first. If it's a varsity game that's just like a varsity only game by itself or a JV varsity doubleheader, then the number of excuses that a varsity coach should be able to have to not attend the pregame conference is really small. I mean, attending to an injured player on the field, something like that, okay, during warmups, that could be a pretty decent reason. Maybe he had to run out to take care of something, a bus driver situation, or some other uncontrollable excuse, and we need to get the game going, and the teams are okay with that. Okay, those are really extenuating circumstances, okay? A head coach sitting on the bench talking to his pitcher and catcher and sends the assistant coach out to do the plate conference. That is the situation that we're talking about here. So again, kind of the standalone game, the JV varsity doubleheader, the regular season game, these are the ones that I really think that we can control more than like the quick tournament games. Let's get the game going, those kinds of things. Okay, so just be mindful. The head coach by rule does have to attend the pregame conference if he's available. Okay, let's talk about a tournament situation for a second. Sometimes these tournament games, they're trying to flip them as fast as they can. Sometimes the coach is making the lineup on the fly and he's got your lineup and, okay, now he needs to go talk to his pitcher or something like that. And it's obvious that, hey, we're trying to get this game started. That's the rule number one. That's the thing that we're really trying to get to. Let's have a little common sense in this thing. If the coach chooses to send an assistant coach to the pregame conference for this type of setting, and it's obvious that we're scrambling to get the game going, it's obvious that the head coach is not avoiding you doing this on purpose, those kinds of things, let's have common sense and just have the coach have the pregame conference meeting and get the game started. I think this is a look that looks really good and just allows us to say, hey, we're in this together. We know that this is not a normal thing, but we still need to go through our normal rotations and getting a conference in and stuff to start the game. So again, if this situation happens to you, don't let this become a big deal. If the coach is purposefully not attending the pregame conference for a specific reason, to be spiteful of you, the umpire, to make a statement, to just flat out refuse, that's where we have the tools that we can bench restrict the coach. But if the head coach is not the one attending the pregame conference because of an obvious reason that is just understandable, hey, something crazy happened, this is going on, in the spirit of the game, have common sense and have the pregame conference with whoever is there and just get the game started. Have some common sense and just some positive thoughtfulness and get the game going. So Let's talk real quickly about force play slide rule. Yes, this is so fun. I love talking about force play slide rule. So my question is, and by the way, this rule is in rule 8. So if you want to start thumbing your rule book over there, page 55 is where we're headed. The question for you guys is, does the runner headed into a force out, so like R1 going to second base, does that runner have to slide? And the word have to slide is the important one, because I hear so many umpires telling a coach when they enforce force play slide rule that they have to slide. So I'm curious, is this the answer? The answer is found on page 55. It is Rule 8, Article 4, or sorry, Section 4, Article 2, letter B. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to find that in your rule book first, and then I'm going to jump in. All right, so this is in a section that is titled Runner is Out. So that's in big bold over on the left on page 54. So in all these scenarios, we're talking about runners being declared out. Article 2, narrow down a little bit. Any runner is out when the runner, now jump down to B, does not legally slide and causes illegal contact and or illegally alters the actions of the fielder in the immediate act of making a play, or on a force play, does not slide in a direct line between the bases, or, number 1, a runner may slide in a direction away from the fielder to avoid making contact or altering the play, or, number 2, runners are never required to slide. If you have your highlighter, get that out and highlight that phrase in your rule book. But if a runner does elect to slide, the slide must be legal. And it talks about what a legal slide is in 231 or 232.1 and 232.2. Jumping, hurdling, leaping are all legal attempts to avoid a fielder as long as the fielder is lying on the ground. So like they're prone, their body is on the ground. Diving over a fielder is illegal. So again, with your highlighter, I would also highlight that last part. Diving over a fielder is illegal. That's going to come into play. Just to mentally think, jumping, hurdling, leaping, those are all okay, but diving headfirst over a player is not okay. That is illegal, okay? Now, let's answer the question. Does the runner headed into a force out have to slide? Plain and simple, no. So, stop telling a coach that the runner has to slide, because that's not true. They do not have to slide, okay? So let's talk about this scenario in the view of force play slide rule. Last season, I did a really extensive video on force play slide rule. So I really would like to, if you want more of the nuts and bolts of calling it and some more parameters of it, I really would prefer you to go to that video and find that way. So that way I don't have to restate everything. But this is the main thing I want to talk about force play slide rule right now. When you are having a runner headed into a force out, you could have a runner slide and there be nothing. You could have a runner slide and there be interference. If that's the case, then you also invoke the force play slide rule, because that is what it is. It's a force play and then it's a slide violation. You have to have those two parts. But also on a force out, you could have just interference. There doesn't have to be a slide. If he runs in through the base and he inhibits the player, you can have interference on that play. In that case, you call interference, you call him out, and you also call the runner at first base. It doesn't have to be just the sliding portion of it. The force play slide rule, don't overthink this. The force play slide rule applies to a force play with the runner sliding. That's it. Force play slide rule in high school baseball has to deal with a force play and a runner sliding, all in the same play. If you have a force play but no slide, it's not a force play slide rule. If you have a slide but no force play, it's not the force play slide rule. So we need to rethink the way that we go through this process, is that not every play at second base where we're calling interference is a force play slide rule. That's not the case. Let's jump back into the rule book real quick. A runner is out when B, does not legally slide and causes illegal contact and or illegally alters the actions of a fielder in the immediate act of a play. Boom, right there. That's what it's talking about. Does not legally slide. Okay, that could be force play slide rule, but let's forget about that. any runner is out when the runner causes illegal contact and or illegally alters the actions of the fielder. That is the interference that we're talking about. Interference. Interference is called, the ball is dead immediately. Okay, so boom, that runner is out. Now the penalty also goes back further. It says on a forced play slide with less than 2 outs, the runner's declared out as well as the batter runner. Notice it said forced play slide. So we've got to decipher between the two of these. We can have interference at second base without it being the forced play slide rule. So just be mindful of this topic and don't go to a coach that says he has to slide, because he doesn't. Okay, I'm beat that horse a good bit. Let's talk about game day administrators. Does there have to be an administrator on site for a game? This is actually not found in the NFHS rulebook. It's found in the UIL Constitution. And the answer to this question is, drum roll please, yes. For varsity games, yes. For sub-varsity games, no. But it's still important for us to ask. So, and by the way, this is found in the UIL Constitution, section 1208, letter H. If you have never looked at the UIL Constitution, it is a humongous document, but it's really fascinating to go through and to read a little bit of section. 1204 is a section that talks about officiating and game fees and stuff like that. 1208 obviously is a bit more game day related, which is why administrators is in that section. So speaking of the UIL Constitution, this is exactly what it says. And I want to draw your attention to this first part. It says varsity athletic team contest. Whoops, I went too far. Varsity athletic team contest game administrator shall be appointed by the home team. For sub-varsity, it is recommended that a game administrator be there. And then if you want to read what all they're supposed to do, great, cool, more power to you. But game administrators, when you are at the field, if a game administrator does not come up to you when you're walking in, by the way, in the perfect world, that's what happens. You walk in the gate, the game administrator comes up and finds you, introduce yourselves, and kind of tells them where they sit. Okay, in a perfect world, that's what it's supposed to be. But we all know that we don't live in a perfect world, and we don't umpire in perfect stadiums every single day. So sometimes we got to just kind of figure it out. So let's just say that you're at the game, you get dressed, you walk down to the field, and you still have not found a game day administrator. Okay, you at the plate meeting then need to ask who the game administrator is. I always answer that really towards the end. I'll introduce myself to the coaches, go over lineups, go over ground rules. Are your players properly legally equipped? I get my verbal answer on that. And then I ask them, hey, coach, who is your game day administrator? And on my lineup card, I will get it out and I'm ready. And he'll tell me, oh, it's coach so-and-so, and I'll write down that name. And I said, okay, where is he sitting? And I'll need him to point him out to me because I need to know who he is. Top row in the bleachers, red hat, always sitting in the press box doing the PA. And on my lineup card, I'll make just a little note on my lineup card. So that way, if something happens, I know where to find him. I know a name and I know a general location. Even if he moves, I know a name and I can ask for somebody by name. And that way I know that that we've got coverage there and they're in compliance with the UIL. So another question about game administrators. What do you do if there isn't a game administrator on site? Well, let's talk about the sub-varsity games first, okay? Sub-varsity games, like we said, the administrator is recommended to be there by the UIL. They don't have to have an administrator. I know that puts us in an unfortunate situation, but you know, that's just what it is. So when you're at the plate meeting, still ask. And when you prompt the question, the magical thing happens with coaches. They feel obligated to answer. And lots of times they volunteer somebody to be the acting game day administrator. So even if they're not aware that they're the administrator, well, the coach just volunteered themselves to be the game administrator. And so you can write their name down and that's at least somebody to help you there. If there really isn't somebody that's the game day administrator, well, then if a situation arises, then we'll just have to write a report about what happened. We don't have the mediator now between the game and then reports and keeping things with the UIL. Now, on a varsity game, if there's a varsity game and you are trying to get the game started and there is not a UI or there's not an administrator there, that is an automatic incident report with the UIL. Do you still play the game? Yes, you do. You still play the game, but you have to report that. It is in the Constitution for UIL that for varsity games, they have to provide an administrator for the game. So if they're not there, then you need to report it. Also, let me clarify something real fast. If you're in a complex where the baseball field is here and the softball field is here and they're kind of, you know, even, and you could stand in the middle and you could watch both games at the same time, it's okay for that administrator to be the administrator for both sides. I mean, that's kind of the understanding that we've all gotten, is that in that situation, if you have two complexes that are moved from each other, like the baseball field is on this side of the school, and then you have to drive around and down the block. There's the softball field. If they want to say that, hey, we have one administrator for both sites, now that is not compliant. You don't have an administrator truly on site in that situation. So you'll need to get a different administrator, or if they don't have one, you'll need to file the UIL report. So bottom line, if there's not a game day administrator there, you still play the game, but you do need to report that. Also, that's something really good to put into the Waco chapter game reports that are optional. Put that in there. Let us know, or you can, of course, give us a call and let us know that as well, because those are important things that we do need to know and discuss moving forward. So those are the three topics that I have for today. It took me, wow, pretty quick, 24 minutes. I want to open the floor up to you. Do you have any questions? Do you have situations that you want to discuss? Kind of the framing with this is, the first part of it's going to be, you know, rules heavy, really me talking a lot. The second half of these are always going to be kind of response. We're either going to be looking at plays, talking about things, asking questions and stuff. So I've had a few of you reach out to me, say you got a couple of thoughts and want to share them. So if you would like to ask a question or something, unmute yourself and ready, set, go.
Caleb?
Yes.
Jimmy King here.
Okay.
Twice in the last week or so, I've had tag plays at third base where I had a terrible angle. I'd like to visit about that. The first play, throw came from the first baseman.
Okay.
Play first, and then runner from second advance, and the throw came across the third baseman. The second one came from the throw came from the catcher. But both plays ended the same way. The third baseman took the throw somewhat in front of the bag. The base runner is trying to get to the back side of the bag. The third baseman turns his back to the plate, trying to reach for a tag. And I have a terrible angle for determining whether or not there was a tag. What can you help me with there? So
you're saying that they were all racing for that corner of the base right there. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the tag was attempted. I don't know. Well, I do know based on the feedback I got from third base coaches and runners. I think I missed both of them, one each way. I really do. But I was guessing both times because the guy was reaching almost directly away from me, and I could not tell whether he touched the guy or not. It was wasn't waiting for him.
So you feel like the third baseman was positioned this way and then turned clockwise to tag that, or turned counterclockwise to tag that way?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's run through this real quick. Let me erase my my little scribbles real quick, and let's get this play set up. So if I'm not mistaken, you have a runner at first base and you have a batter up to the plate, correct? The first one where the throw comes from first, is that right?
We had runners on first, and the throw comes first. We had runners on first and second.
Okay, cool. Let's put a runner at first and second. All right.
And a ground ball to third base, throws to first.
Okay, so you are in C position, which C position is right about there. All right. Ground ball goes where?
Third base.
Ground ball to third base. All right. Boom. There's our ground ball. He feels it here, and now where does he throw it?
He checked the runner and threw to first.
Okay.
And then here comes the runner.
Okay. So the first thing that you need to do is, let me just say this, and then you can kind of be honest with us. From here, you need to step up and then turn where you're square to the third baseman. Your first
time out.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. There was no runner at first. It was not a force. Sorry.
Okay, so there's just a runner.
Sorry.
Okay, just a runner at second. That's fine. It still doesn't really change our positioning. But that's the first thing, is that you need to step up and then square yourself to third, because you don't know if he's going to go to second or to first. So he does throw to first base. The ball goes right there. Now from this position, remember, you have this 45-foot lane that's over here on the base. This is your target right here that you want to always build your angle towards. Right. So as the throw goes, you want to open yourself up towards this angle and then get set here to make your call at first base. Right?
Right.
Now, as the first baseman turns to throw back to third, really and truly, you're going to just do your best to open up and get back to the same angle that you were. Now, let me erase something here so that way you can, you're not a little confused by where you started from. So really and truly, you haven't moved a whole lot. But what you did do is you did move up about 2 or 3 steps, which is going to build your angle. You started here, you had your first play here, and then now you're taking your second play here. Okay. And if you see the player really truly diving to this part of the bag, the way part of the bag, you're going to have to step this direction to get your angle there. We call that a read step. So just after you've come hands on knee set or standing set or whatever that you're going to be at, you've got to see that play coming and go, oh my, if I stay here, I'm going to be looking up someone's rear end and be blocked. So I've got to build an angle. You can't go forward because, well, that's going to make things worse for you. You've got to go to the side, which is right here. Go angular this direction with just a step and a lean. I wish I could show you that with my feet, but once you get set, you realize that, wow, the play is coming into third base differently, and just step and a lean there. Can I be honest with you though?
Yep.
This situation is why two-man mechanics fail, because this is so hard to umpire. You really truly cannot get a good look at this play when you have plays that blow up. This is not your normal play. Normally a play into third base is going to be just front and right here at this edge. You're going to have a player standing right here. He's going to catch the ball and tag it right there, right? Normally, that's how that's going to happen. But this is not a normal situation. Our player drifts up. When he drifts up, now our play is going to be more back here. And then he's going to have that looping effect there. So really get your spot, step up, get square. Once you realize it's happening, then you got to get a read step and build a different angle. So that way you can try and see through the play instead of looking up someone's rear end. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's helpful. And I don't know if I said this, but in both cases, the tag was applied or attempted to be applied probably 3 feet from the bag. It wasn't actually at the bag. It wasn't a question of timing. It was a question of whether or not he tagged him at all.
Oh, really? Well, then, yeah, especially in that situation, you've just got to work to get that read step, and work to get that read step so that way you can see in between the players. But Jimmy, like I said before, two-man mechanics is a faulty mechanics. It is not going to cover every aspect of the game. Sometimes you just got to umpire, and that's using context clues and making the best informed guess that you possibly can have.
Well, thank you. That the both third base coaches were nice about it, and the first one, that's pretty much exactly what I told him. I said, "Sorry, we don't have 4 umpires instead of 2."
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Oh, and let me add one more thing to that. And this is also equally why this play is so frustrating. Okay, so oops, wrong tool. If we are using the 4-man umpire system, that umpire that's right there, the ball is hit to third base. He drifts down right here. He gets set. The throw goes to first base. The throw starts coming back. Where does he line up? He lines up right here, facing the base on the foul side. Who else is standing right there? Oh, wait, a third base coach. So there's no wonder a third base coach is going to have the best look at that. He is going to know whether you got it right or whether you got it wrong. And Timmy, like you said, the best thing that you can do is if he ever confronts you, honestly, I just admit to him, you have the best angle. I don't. I have to, and there, if you think I got it wrong, I probably did, but unfortunately, I've got to stick with my call. And that's just the fault of two-man umpires.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
If I can, real quick on that, is there the same thing? Like Caleb was saying, fight to get that read step. Okay. Some of us are more agile than others. Okay. But yeah, fight to get as far back as you can, because that batter runner already got eliminated. So all you have is R2 trying to attack third base. You don't have to deal. It's a low percentage. You're going to have to deal with a rundown. He's probably going to go to third. So try to get as far back as you can to build that read. Okay. Because now if he gets in a rundown or a conundrum, you're going to have a better read. And then if you can't, mechanically, we have to stay on the inside just with the 2-umpire system. That's where our timing, okay, locking, proper use of eyes, get set, read the play, time, tell yourself what you saw. And bear in mind, folks, sometimes body language comes into effect in a 2-umpire system. What did you see? Well, body language will tell you everything. The runner will tell you he's out. The fielder will tell you he got an out. Somehow, some way, you're going to be convinced. Bang it.
Yep. But Hal, that does bring up a really good point. If you're unsure, slow timing is your friend. So there is so much to be said about a runner and their self-awareness of plays, or a fielder. You can read players' body languages, and it's all over the field when this happens.
Let it play out. Even the after effects, let it play out. Tell yourself everything that you saw in that 2 seconds. Seems like an eternity, but telling you 5 seconds is your savior. Your timing, you look more crisp, you look more professional and more credible when a coach decides he wants to test your people skills.
I think that's very helpful. I've been replaying the video in my mind while you were saying these things, and I'm thinking, yep, there was body language. Yep, if I had waited, I think I would have gotten at least one of them right, maybe both of them. Thank you.
There you go.
So just be patient, especially when we tend to rush when we feel like we don't have the right answer, or we don't have all the pieces of the information, and we just got to train our bodies to do the exact opposite and just relax. Okay. Any other questions? I don't have anything in the chat right now. Any other questions from the chat? So any other questions or thoughts or comments or anything?
If I may, just reference incident reports.
Okay.
Okay. I think, I guess just our culture. Okay. When we hear the term or use the term incident report, we always think something negative, something wrong happened, something not right occurred. Okay. Yes. If something's egregious and things of that nature, yeah, we need to report that. However, nothing says that we can file a positive incident report. It helps build rapport and it documents. And somebody's going to be collecting data. And we as a chapter, I think it's just part of the relationship building. We need to build documentation, but let's be mindful if we do something that's more adverse, let's have some thick skin.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I've got a topic that I want to discuss real quick too. But any others before? There's 13 people on the call, so between those 13 people, there's bound to be a lot of people that have had games before or situations. All right, I got one for you. We have a runner at second base. This is one thing that I like that we didn't discuss, but I do want to point it out because that's what I was thinking with Jimmy's play. So we got a runner at second base. Let's have the same situation. Ground ball to third, throw goes to first, and then back to third. Jimmy did it correctly in the fact that the base umpire out here has all the calls in the infield because there is no rotation in this situation. The plate umpire stays here at the plate. He moves out, goes up the 45-foot line to make sure there's, swipe tag, pulled foot, and then he hooks it back home. Okay, so I wanted to praise this one for you. So Jimmy and your crew, you did this one right. Y'all did not rotate on this situation. I'm really glad that that was our discussion and not that we had two umpires making the play at third. So now let's talk about the one that I really want to discuss. So this one is there's a runner at first and a runner at second. So our umpire is going to be in C and our plate umpires, of course, is going to be behind the plate. And let's say that there is one out. So if I'm umpiring out on the plate, I'm going to look to my partner and I'm going to give these signals. I'm going to signal to him, there's one out, and I'm going to point up. And that's me signaling we have an infield fly situation. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to point to third. This is saying on the tag, I've got third. That's what I'm saying. On the tag, I've got third. So now let's put this into action. A fly ball is hit to right field. This is a rotation situation. Umpire in the field has catch, no catch. Remember on right field or up, back. And then anything inside the big V. So this is right to the right fielder. You didn't have to move. This runner is going to tag. This runner is going to tag. The batter runner is going to come up here and he's going to be retired. Plate umpire has to book it down to third base. And you need to be talking to your umpire, to your partner. I've got third if he tags. I've got third if he tags. This allows the umpire in the field to drop back, work more in the working area, and build an angle. He is looking at three things simultaneously. Number one, he's watching the catch, no catch out in right field. Number two, out of the corner of his left eye, he's looking at the runner. Is he actually tagging? And number three, he's looking out of his right eye and checking the runner if he tags at first base. Now, for those of you who don't have multi-viewing eyes that can look at three objects at the same time, I'm one of them. This is the order that I look in. I try to line up the catch with my lead runner as much as I can. So from this position, I try to angle my body ever so slightly that maybe I'm looking more this direction. I'm not exactly body language wise looking there. I'm looking more kind of halfway between the two. This allows me to have a wider range of peripheral vision. So I can see the catch, no catch, and in the peripheral vision of my eyes, I can look at that runner. If the catch is made or if the ball is touched, remember, it's not when the catch is made, it's when the ball is first touched by a defender, and I see the runner move, I'm good. If as I'm watching the ball, I see the runner move before the touch is made, now I know I'm not good, and we've got a potential for an appeal play, okay? So that's the runner at second base. How do I deal with the runner at first? Well, he's a glance. Again, I've positioned my body to where I'm really focused, body language, splitting the difference between my lead runner and the ball. And for this runner, I see the catch, no catch, and then I glance. I see the catch, no catch. I'll maybe make eye contact with my runner at second, and then I'll glance. If my runner at first base is on the bag, well, we're good. If he is just slightly off the base, maybe right here, then chances are we're good. If the runner is hanging out here in the middle of the base path, then we're not good. That's going to be kind of one of those that you just need to get a little feel for this situation. But this is actually really challenging as a base umpire because you've got lots of things going on at the same time. Plate umpire, get set out here, out in the foul territory by third base, where the coach is. Get all the way down there. If the runner comes and there's a play in two-man mechanics, you come inside and you take it from the cutout, okay? If the runner doesn't come, then, well, you just look really good. You can say hi to the third base coach, give him a high five, and go back home. No, don't give him a high five, but, you just look really good if you're all the way down there. Read this play quickly, okay? Now, let's switch it up just a little bit. Let's switch it up just a little bit. We're gonna have the
Can
fly
you make
ball.
your diagram bigger?
Can I make it bigger?
Yeah.
Hold on. Having to edit on the fly. That's about as big as I'm going to be able to get it. Okay, so let's take a different situation, or sorry, same situation, but a different placement on the ball here. So runners at first and second, again, 1 out. Pre-game pitch, I'm giving 1 out signal. I'm pointing up, that's saying that there's infield fly. I'm going to my fist like this and saying on a tag, I've got third base, okay? Now the fly ball goes down the line, fair foul decision right here. Can this be a rotation situation? This no longer can be because the plate umpire has fair foul responsibilities there at there down the right field line. So in this situation, base umpire, good luck. You've got to drop back as much as you can, widen your field of view, and just know that you have every play on every runner in this situation. Remember, this could happen down the left field line. This could happen down the right field line. But with 2 runners on base, runner at first and second, less than 2 outs, this is where we have this extra rotation situation.
Plate umpire, make sure you tell your field umpire that the rotation's off in some way.
Yes, you've got to communicate with that saying, I've got the ball or I'm on the line, one of those two, okay? Now, in this play, the plate umpire only has catch, no catch, fair foul responsibility. He does not have any tag up responsibility at all. However, let me just say, however, he is staring right down the first baseline. If you need to offer some help on if this runner, if R1 actually tags, this is this way that I would go down with it. Coach comes out and asks, hey, I believe R1 left early. You can be the aggressor in this situation. You know it's your partner's turn, but you can be the aggressor and say, hey, John, I've got this one. John, I've got this one. This is mine. I've got it. And then you can render a decision right there. By rule, this is not your call, but if you certainly are able to help out, help your partner because he's got a lot to work on right here. He's looking for the catch. He's trying to line up for the tags and stuff. So be a helpful partner there. So again, first and second, less than 2 outs. We need to know that we are rotating in there. So in 2-man mechanics, there are 3 situations where we rotate. Runner at first base, clean hit to the outfield. Runner at first and third, clean base hit to the outfield. Runners at first and second, less than 2 outs, and a tag situation. That is where we are rotating up to third base. So those are the 3 rotation times in 2-man mechanics. Okay, Hal said he had one in the chat. So Hal, you can go.
Okay, thank you. Everybody, it's very important you track defensive conferences or visits. Typically, they're going to go to the pitcher, right? Okay, make sure you have whatever your tracking methodology is. Caleb gave an awesome tutorial on a basic structure that you should prepare your lineup cards or your note card, whatever, to track it. This happened last night. Jamie Ferret and I are working. Jamie has the plate, I'm in the field. So it's Connolly versus Hillsborough. Connolly exercised a pitching conference or a defensive conference once in the first inning. The second visit was once in the second inning, and they exhausted their third visit in the third inning. Fourth inning, pitchers getting wrecked. Pitching, now the first 3 visits, the official ones, okay, recorded, were with the head coach. Now the pitching coach comes out on the attempted fourth. I see him coming out. This is a different figure. So I start immediately approaching. I says, Coach, are you coming to change the pitcher? He says, no. I says, okay, stop right there. Either you change your pitcher or you go back to the dugout. You've already exhausted your 3. And he's like, no, we didn't. I says, yes, we did. I've got documentation. Would you like me to present it to you? And I pulled out my lineup card and I showed him. And he just went, nope, I'm good. And he turns and disappears. So it's real important now where we failed as a crew. And this is the learning curve for everybody. Okay, we got a little complacent. Okay. We need to show some kind of visual signal to our partner. Typically, if I'm the plate umpire and I pull out my lineup card holder and I pull out my pen and I'm looking at my partner, I'm pointing at him, I'm doing that. Partner, you better be recording it too. Okay. It will come into play because coaches will try to play dumb with you. They want to find out what they can get away with you. Don't play their games. Be ahead of them. Okay.
As a plate umpire, thank you, Hal. That's really great. And by the way, there is a really extensive video on that we did last season as well. So you can check that out on YouTube. That's on YouTube and as well as the quick links in RefTown. As a plate umpire, as you are marking the visits down, you need to let the coach know when they get that second visit and that he has one more. And then you need to let him know when he's reached that third visit. Typically, I do this as he's crossing the foul line. That's my kind of thing. As he's crossing the foul line, I'll just look at him and say, hey, coach, that's your second visit. You have one left. Or, as he's walking off, hey, coach, that's your third visit. You have no more visits left. And just make sure that they acknowledge you on that too. Most of the time, the coaches will nod their head. They won't say anything. They'll just nod their head. But then you've done your due diligence. But yes, it is so important that you monitor your visits and are on top of it and you know it and you don't allow a coach an extra visit as well.
But like I said, that's where we got complacent and that's where we failed as a crew. We failed to give that courtesy reminder to the coach. Again, Caleb, like you said, the coach will go, yeah, I know, or however they acknowledge it. You still want to say, Coach, you got one remaining. That's a recorded conference, whatever. You got 2 left. Give them that.
Yeah,
we failed to do that, and that's what caused the confusion. However, we could see where the coaches, they probably were well aware of the rule. They just tried to get an end around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ethan sent in something in the chat, so it's a really good topic. So say that you have a game that is scheduled for 6 o'clock. Say that you have a game that's scheduled for 6 o'clock. You get out there for the plate meeting and the teams are not ready. That is now 5:58 and you are just now having your plate conference. You introduce yourselves to the coaches and things are slow and you find out that, we are going to do anthem and player introductions and honor the parents and do all of the pregame fanfare stuff. It is the unfortunate part of our job, but when coaches don't time manage well pregame, it is still our job to just go along with whatever they have for us to do. We are there to provide a service for them, and it's still their game, their show. They get to do what they want to. So you can politely hustle them up, and your presence standing at home plate oftentimes does really magical wonders. If they're still having their prayer down the left field line or whatever it is that they do pregame, to hustle them up and stuff. But ultimately, we are at their service. We are providing a service to them. So we need to just follow along with what they're doing. Example, and this is just one way that we've done it well and one way that we've kind of done it not so well that started off wrong. It was a 7 o'clock game, but because of rain, ended up being like an 8 or 8:30 game. It was not the best temperature out there, and we had already been sitting in the locker room for a rain delay, but it was a district game and they wanted to get it in. So here we go, we walk out to the ball field and I see that the players and stuff are just everywhere and the announced start time is really close, and I'm a little bitter. And at the plate, or at standing at home plate, trying to encourage them, nobody would would come out. The PA is playing music and we're just standing there around, and it's now officially game time and we're still standing there. And so me and my not so positive way, I just looked at him and said, are we playing today, guys, or not? And it was not the thing to say. One coach comes out and he's a little grumble and says, well, we're just trying to get caught up. We are stuck in the same locker room as you know. One coach, well, the other coach was down the further end of the line. And again, disgruntled, frustrated Caleb makes some sort of comment. Come on, guys, you can pray later. Let's go. Need a coach up here. And I successfully had both coaches upset with me before the game even started. Hadn't even made a pitch. And had I been a little more patient, probably said a few nicer things to them, maybe we would have started the game a little different. I don't remember exactly how the game ended, but I do remember that that is the earliest I've had both coaches angry and upset with me. And it was all because, you know, things weren't ready and I wanted to get the game started on time. And that's not really my place necessarily as an umpire. Yes, it's time for you. You need to get there. You need to get the game going. But ultimately, there is a little co-ownership in that regard that if you are there doing your part and they're not, then, well, you need to be patient with them just a little bit and then positively encourage them to move a little quickly, but certainly don't demand any. So great question, Ethan. It is now about 7 minutes till. We always go right up to 9 o'clock. I do not ever keep you longer than an hour. So any last few questions? Any other thoughts, comments? Thank you so much for your participation in this one today. I really do appreciate it. I'll open up just for a second longer. See if anybody else has any last thing.
I got one quick one.
Yeah.
I actually had a timing play at the plate by 1 step. It was
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
Two runners and a gap, 2 runners on base and a gapper. And the last runner across the plate as the third baseman's taking the ball in his glove and the guy's sliding. And I think I'm lucky. I saw both, but it was close and I was all excited. It actually happened. That's a real timing play. That was pretty
actually
cool.
happened in real time. Well, let me get my slide to cooperate so that way I can actually show you the full field. Sorry, guys, I got to make it a little smaller so we can, like I said, see the whole field. Here we go. So walk us through that play real quick, just so we know where runners are, and then we'll diagram it, and that'll be the end for us today.
Runners on first and second, and a gapper to left center to the fence. Bases clearing.
Okay.
And batter runner thrown out at third for the last out.
Okay, cool. So umpire is in C position. Ball is hit to deep gap. Let's just put it right over here. It rattles up against the wall. R2 is going to score easily. Okay, so let's just delete him. All right. R1 is going to round second, round third, and be headed towards the plate. The batter runner is going to be rounding second, heading to the play at third. This is really, really, really great stuff here. As a plate umpire, we tell you to start point of plate and then move this direction as the play allows, correct? That's what we teach you. The play in here doesn't even go to you, but you've got to move this direction. You want to take this play from third baseline extended because you've got to have your view look down here. Does this runner touch home before the tag is made at third? As a base umpire, on this situation, you even could potentially point to a tag. So that way it gives another visual part for your plate umpire. If you want to be a little bit quicker on your out mechanic on this, that's fine. But plate umpire, you cannot wait for the base umpire to make the call before you render a decision. You've got to know when your timing actually is. And it's once the tag has been applied, once the out has been made, take a snapshot of where this runner is. If he's just short of the base when the tag is made out right here, then you need to come up really big and saying, no run, no run. The run does not score. Give a big, big white ball sign. This is not safe in this situation. This is no run, okay? If he does touch home plate prior to the out being recorded, This is where you need to emphatically point to the plate, and you're pointing to the plate and you're saying that run scores. That run scores, and you need to point it to probably 3 times. That run scores, maybe even 4 times. That run scores. And then turn around, look up to the press box, and then point up to the press box and say the run scores. Because if they get it up there, all the other teams on each side will get it. And by the way, if you said that run scores pointing to the plate really big 4 or 5 times, generally speaking, the players are not going to get the idea when you turn around and point to the press box and make sure that they score that run as well. That is what a lot of people don't do in this mechanic. Pointing to the plate just multiple times, and then turning all the way around and pointing to the press box. That way, there is no doubt that you saw that run does score prior to the out being made. And this is the case for all timing plays. Anytime that you have the possibility of the third out being recorded and a run being scored, it needs to be sold that much. You're either coming up saying save as in no run scores. Again, this is not a safe mechanic in this. You're saying no run scores, or you are coming and pointing emphatically that run scores, that run scores, that run scores, pointing at the press box, score the run. And again, when the press box gets it, everybody else will get it as well. Great. We don't have a lot of those timing plays often. So anytime that you have one, that's great. Do you have that game on video? If you do, send it to me. I would love to clip that play and have that to show everybody too, because I have a presentation on timing plays that I want to do this season, but I can't do it until I have video.
It was in a China Spring tournament. Brian Rudder against somebody in New Diana.
Sorry, I'm getting a pen to write that down.
That's not right. Brian Rudder against China Spring. My favorite coach, China Springs coach, ought to have that.
Okay. So I'll look and see. What date was that? Or
that was Friday, midday.
Okay.
Cool. Early afternoon, I think.
Do you remember what inning?
Oh gosh, probably the 5th inning or so.
So late in the game.
I think it was a 1 o'clock game or 1:30 game, maybe.
But late in the game.
Yeah, about the 5th inning, maybe.
Cool. Okay, I'll see if I can't clip it. Thanks so much. Okay, well, with that in mind, guys, it is now 8:59. I tell you, I'm only going to keep you for 1 minute or for 1 hour. I'm going to be really mindful of your time. I really do hope that you are having a great season so far. As you can tell, there are tons of games. You are going to work as much baseball as you possibly can handle this season. We need umpires. Take care of yourself. Hydrate yourself. Stretch before your games. And then don't forget, especially if you have a wife or a special one that you live with, throw them a couple of encouragements or some flowers or some things along the way, because when they're happy, you're happy and everybody's happy. And it's always great to take care of those that allow us to pursue a fun activity, side gig that we all love being a part of baseball. So hope you guys have a great week. We will not have one of these over spring break because, I want a spring break. But look for us to have one on, I believe it's the 15th of March. And that one will have some videos with us to go over, more rules, and of course, more questions from you. So thank you guys so much for being here. That's it for this presentation. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your evening.